So let me tell y'all what happened. I made another 60 days in video. Took it off. I appealed the first one. Rejected. Now let me tell you what they said. We reviewed your content carefully and have confirmed that it violates our spam deceptive practices and scams policy. For real. Anyway, I just decided to do the more interesting videos. You know what I'm saying? I seen this video and the title caught me, so I was just like, I'm gonna do this. So we're gonna get into it.
An NBC-owned Chicago television station called WMAQ were airing their regularly scheduled programming. At the end of the night, they showed viewers what they almost always broadcasted: a series of public service announcements talking about things like drug use, public projects that were in the works, and events that were coming up. At the very end of these PSAs, they showed viewers the poster of a person who recently went missing. Again, this was a typical thing to do, but on this night, the missing person section of the programming had a different feel to it. See it for yourself.
They said this was 1980. They said 1980, right? What the fuck is that? What is that picture?
This picture eerily broadcasted until the next morning, and years later, it's still disturbing and confusing to the people who have seen.
So you telling me they were showing this picture all night with no change? I bet a motherfucker woke up, seen that shit, and tripped.
It. The disturbing part is obvious. This picture is nothing like your typical missing persons photo. We can barely make out a person at all, and
Facts.
The image shows us no discernible features whatsoever.
Facts.
It's eerie to look at, and I can imagine seeing this image in the middle of the night with nothing but sharp static playing in the.
I was just saying that. Imagine you just had a bad dream and you wake up and that's the first thing you see. Boy, you gon'
background would be a very eerie experience. However, the real confusing part about this poster is that according to any real documentation, Joanna Lopez, the person in this photo, doesn't exist. I don't mean that Joanna is a made-up entity, I simply mean that there is no proof that a person with this name was actually missing in Chicago in the late 80s. There are no missing reports, no news articles, and from what people have been gathering, there are no other reports about this missing case on any other television programs apart from WMA.
Press the room, but I think I see it. Like, that's a dead body. That's definitely a dead body from what I'm getting, or it's an Asian. I can't see that. Like somebody. Let me tell you what happened. I know exactly what happened. And if you used to use them photo editing apps back in elementary school, you know exactly what happened. I ain't even got to say too much.
Essentially, this is the only known report of Joanna's disappearance. Fortunately, there has been a resurgence in the interest surrounding this case because of a video made by Blame It on George where he talked about this picture. As well as this, there have been a couple of different subreddits that have been exploring the details of this case, and they've actually pieced together a few details that give us some more context about who Joanna could be. So let's look at what people have found so far and see if we can find any answers at all. Firstly, let's look at the actual poster. All we have is a name, a number, and a photograph that shows us a person who isn't recognizable in the slightest. The first important piece of info is the number. A user over on Reddit found the listing to this number, and it leads us to the youth division of the Chicago Police Department. This is actually an important detail because it tells us that Joanna was almost definitely under the age of 18 when this poster was aired. Another piece of information that supports that theory is the YouTube channel that posted the original video. It's called the Museum of Classic Chicago Television, and it's the page that archived this report. In the description of the video, they explain what the PSAs are, and right at the end they briefly describe the photo as Missing Child Alert Slide Joanna Lopez. So Joanna was, by the channel's standards, a child, but her specific age wasn't actually given. As you can easily tell, no other information about Joanna was given, and this is not common. If you look at any other slides, you can notice a stark difference in the way that they usually convey this type of information. Here's an example of a similar report that was also done in the 1980s.
Missing Juanita Estevez, now age 16, last seen Yuba City, California, November 27, 1984. Call 800-843-5678.
As you can see, they normally showed the missing person's height, their age, where they were last seen, and most importantly, a clear image of the actual person. This slide shows us none of that, and if it wasn't for the listing and the video's description, we wouldn't be able to tell if Joanna was an adult or a minor. So now that we've established that Joanna is underage, we can take a look at the picture in closer detail. At first glance, it's not a lot of help, but another user on Reddit enhanced the photo and attempted to add some color to it. This was the result, and although it's not a very clear image, it does give us a couple of details like the fact that Joanna is wearing glasses, and the fact that this person is probably a teen.
That if that's what that picture really was, she was dead when the picture got took. This looked like a picture of somebody laying in a casket. If I don't know. This is kind of creepy, bro. That's
Teenager. If Joanna was a teenager, then it supports a theory that is quite popular. This theory suggests that Joanna was a young woman who either came from a troubled family or a care home, and that she ran away from whatever house she was staying in. If this was a regular occurrence, then it would make sense that a missing report was not filed, and if she was found quickly, then it would also make sense that this story came and went. However, there is another detail of this story that I have deliberately left out until now because it pokes holes in this theory. That detail is the fact that this broadcast was not the only time that this slide was shown. Like I've said before, this is the only known station to ever share this poster, but they did actually share it on 2 occasions. Once in 1989 and one final time in 1991, 2 years later. As you can see, the photos are the same, but the picture is a small bit clearer. They also only showed this slide for a few seconds and they did not broadcast it throughout the night. It's a small detail, but it tells us that there is a chance that Joanna could have been missing for 2 years by the time the second slide was aired. Now, it's entirely possible that Joanna ran away on 2 separate occasions and they simply decided to use the same image twice, but this second slide really opens the doors to many possibilities when it comes to this case. It's important to note that people interested in this case have done their due diligence and scoured many different archives looking for any kind of information regarding Joanna's disappearance. Things like Ancestry.com, the Chicago Tribune, social media, and similar news channels have been thoroughly scoured, and while a few tidbits have been found here and there, nothing substantial has come.
Why would you be searching social media? Social? Did I say social? Whatever the fuck I just said. Why would you be searching that if there was no way anyone could have had any documentation of her on social media just based off the fact of what year she went missing? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. She went missing in what, 1989? She went missing in 1989. I don't even know when social media came out, but I know it wasn't nowhere near 1989. I mean, no, I'm not even that.
To light.
Everybody who could have searched her on social media was old as shit. Had to be old as shit. I didn't even hear him say a year for when
Reddit
all
user
this shit is
Proud
going
Evening
on.
Star posted this link onto the thread that brings us to the
Hold on. We finna do some detective work real quick. 5 months ago, December 18th. No, everybody who could have been searching on social media is old as
homicide
hell.
victims. This particular page shows us a young woman who was killed in Chicago in May of 1994. She was 5'11", weighed 120 pounds, and was found in an alleyway behind South Champlain Avenue. This alleyway is around 11 miles away from the Chicago PD headquarters, which is also where the postcode from the listing we mentioned earlier brings us. The killer was caught and was sentenced to prison, but
I bet Chicago water dirty as hell. I don't know why. I just feel like that shit ain't clean. I know New York water ain't clean.
stated that he did not know what this woman's name was. She was allegedly a prostitute that he hired, and they never exchanged any details. Her age is listed as 18 to 22. If we were to make a rough estimate and put Joanna's age at 15 in 1989 and 17 in 1991, then she would be around 20 in 1994. This would put her right in the middle of this estimate, but that's simply a wild guess, and it doesn't really do much for us. This is where not having any of the information on the missing poster is really detrimental to the case. We have all the specifics of the Jane Doe and no specifics whatsoever on Joanna Lopez. It's essentially another brick wall in a very frustrating series of dead ends. If you just straight up Google this case, you can spend a few hours running into all sorts of dead ends. There is a website called Defrosting Cold Cases that has a decent enough write-up on this case where they link a handful of interesting sites, but again, there's nothing really that tells us anything that could be overly useful in finding out the identity of Joanna. Let's wrap this up by delving into the most popular theory surrounding this case. It goes as follows. Joanna Lopez was a teenage girl aged 13 to 15 in 1989 who, like we said earlier, came from a troubled home or a foster home. She was most likely a frequent flyer, meaning she ran away from her home consistently. She did this in 1989 and a poorly made missing poster was created. An overexposed photocopy of this poster was made and sent to the local television network. They aired it for the night. She was either found relatively quickly, which is the reason no missing persons report was ever created, or if a report was made, it was protected because she was a minor. The same incident happened again 2 years later in 1991, and they simply sent the same poster to the network, or they simply reused the one that they already had. This theory simply stated that Joanna had a hard upbringing, she ran away a lot, and that's why there's no documentation on her. That's actually the most optimistic theory because it would suggest that she was found and could still be alive today. I suppose the most fortunate thing about having such little information is that there also isn't an obituary.
Hold on. How long ago was 1989? Let me do this math real quick. $32. Damn, 1989 wasn't that long ago. That was 32 years ago. Wait, hold on. No, it's 2022. So 33. Yeah, I was right. All right.
Report that correlates with this case. All in all, this theory is much more positive than the alternative. One last thing I want to say is that this...
Explain to me how this is much more positive when, I mean, in this theory, he died. That's not funny. Rest in peace. But, yeah, in this theory, she died, so it's not that much more positive, buddy, if you really want to think about it.
Is the internet, believe it or not, and 1989 was not 100 years ago. So if you're watching this video now and you happen to live in Chicago in the late 80s or the early 90s and you knew a Joanna who wore glasses, ask them about this picture. Even if their name isn't Joanna, just ask around your old friends, see if we can get any answers. That would be great. You should probably give them some context first, because if you just send them this picture with no explanation, they will probably block you. Seriously though, like I said, share this image around, see if we can try and find some answers and finally put the Joanna Lopez case to bed. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.
I don't know what to make of that. That's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? I give my take on it though. My take on it is she came up missing the first time. They found her. She came up missing again. And the second time she came up missing again was her last time ever being seen. She is gone. I don't agree with the second theory because ain't no way. Ain't no way, ain't no way, ain't no way, ain't no way. That's just too coincidental. Ain't no way that's I'm sticking with the first one. But anyway, we definitely got more content coming. I know I can't do 60 days in no more. So it's probably gonna be I'm gonna mainly do street beefs. Not even just street beefs. I'm gonna do street fights, like my fights, my friends' fights, all that. And let's just pray we don't get copyright strike no more. Or any type of strike no more. Cause I think I just got one because I tried to do another 60 days in video.